direction are we going? When we are screaming, okay, more democracy, more rights for everyone, what does this mean? Who does it exclude? And what's not being put what's being understood behind it? It's very vague. And same is with the term queer. It's very vague. So what are we talking about when we are talking about queer? Is it possible to advocate certain rights without having a certain name for it, like a concrete name, in name of whom we are fighting these rights? Is it possible?
And this tendency for all of us to put things in like these very clear categories and like say what queer is and what good queer is as well. It's like really ridiculous to say what good queer is.
And she's making fun of the people who represent LGBTQI people in Europe. Because she said that every time they meet, they fight about these letters. And they try to find new letters. I don't fit in, I want new letters.
It kind of disregards individual people. The push for coming out is, in a way, I suggest for the discussion, in a way disrespectful. Because it kind of says that the life before, the kind of closeted life, as it calls, is somehow bad, fearful, negative. And we have to do this political statement. We need to come out to parents, friends, stand up and say like, I'm gay. But do we need to do those kind of ceremonies of coming out?
I am a gay. Oh!
Oh, that's nice, Tia.
Yeah, good for you, lad.
We are all heterosexual. As you said, I'm like in the streets, I'm kind of white, straight guy. If I say like, oh, I had a date, somebody unknown will ask like, what's her name? Because we are heterosexual by assumption, because that's the culture we live in. The way we kind of accepting somehow the status quo of hetero, and we're just trying to pull out ourselves from the kind of disempowered position up to the certain level. But the general question is, can we imagine kind of politics of kind of breaking up the dominance of heterosexuality other way around by denaturalizing heterosexuality and showing that the heterosexuality everywhere overwhelmingly is not natural?
We actually feel, yeah, there is heterophobia coming out because there are people, sometimes including myself, when I feel that I don't like heterosexual couples and especially heterosexual men, because they are so masculine.
It's time for me to come out from the closet and say that I'm perhaps one of the few heterosexuals here today, and which makes it very awkward for me to speak for somehow. And I'm not very ready to analyze these reasons, but first I wanted to address the issue of queerness and something that and queer for me is something that is accessible for me as well. This is and perhaps if we think in this dichotomy, if we have to think in this dichotomic way, and not an heterosexual norm, but norm as such, and then queer as something that opposes it, that is different from the norm, and this is something that can find or build an alliance with, no problems at all.
And do we actually think about wider framework in which we are kind of placed, of the post-communist transformation? On one hand, we all struggle, and we know that nationalist forces in our respective countries are kind of against. But then also what Tanya brought, but also we were talking about Hungary, that the kind of this homosexuality is also somehow at certain points, and also in Slovenia, is incorporated at certain stages as a kind of this model of the progressiveness, that here we are progressive, modern, liberal, so pro-gay rights, feminism, etc., etc.
It is actually the question of changing the system, I believe. And if I'm hearing these stories and all the background information here, and I have been traveling as well a bit in the world, always it seems to me that it's like a huge field of battles everywhere. You know, at atheists versus Christianity or churches, and nationalism versus whatever, and it's straights versus gays and lesbians, and that's actually, well, in Estonia it's quite hard to understand that, because the society in Estonia is a bit different, because we don't have God here, and that's, you know, one good thing for us. So there's like half the problems less. We're trying to lose this, you are gay, you are straight, you are this, you are that, labels. But actually to try to show to everybody in Estonia that it doesn't matter if you are homosexual, if you are bisexual, transsexual, or no sexual at all. And I'm going to finish in 20
reactions. But when I was listening, as I was in the middle as well, I felt really that maybe the right way should be somewhere in between, that he's maybe taking it very joyfully, very and this is a good spirit as well, to take these things too seriously or too like we are victims, we are, that I don't think this is, I think both are important, but somehow balance it, and I think this kind of spirit that he has is also important.
So it's a liberal, very open country, at least if you compare it with other Baltic countries and former Soviet bloc. Just before, when you had a lunch, we had a talk with a very nice person from Romania who told to me that still 2002 homosexuality was a crime in Romania.
I'm personally very supportive all kind of LGBT society questions, and I have studied it in many ways, and I think I'm quite good informed about it.
And of course, in our party also have many different opinions. It's not secret. I'm quite sure that all my colleagues have to commit it. But we really tend to support the same sex people's partnership.
We have also expressed quite firmly our ideas about the same-sex marriages. We don't think it's needed because marriage is not a basic human right. We can't guarantee that to everyone. And we are quite satisfied with the laws that support all kinds of partnerships. Protecting all human rights is very, very important, and all Estonian laws have to follow all the human rights.
I have 2 kids. One is 4.5 years old daughter, and one is just 2-month-old boy, Daniel. And I want to be a grandfather. I want to be a good grandfather. And I don't know, maybe my son will be homosexual. And that is the reason why I support adoption. I want my son to have kids. Personally. It's a bit hypocritical. Usually I hear people complaining that why we politicians don't do the things that people want, and why we do the things that people don't want. And actually this is a case where at least these people in here want to do the thing that most of the people, according to the polls or surveys that are here, would like to do, but actually like most of the people don't support.
It's too dangerous, just a pragmatical way to raise this topic, because Estonian society is not ready.
Maybe also political elite isn't ready. Also it's the case in my party.
But it's not important how many support it, but the key issue is how many is against it.
It's not the issue where you can win elections. It's not the thing that you can do before elections.
Society is not ready with many things, also but with many economical things, like accepting maybe euro, but you always make society ready. It's all about the manipulation.
Very simple action. Condemn every time there is a hate speech in the public. Condemn it. Condemn it outly, publicly, and strongly say that like your country is not for people who are intolerant.
There are a lot of questions that we need to do just after elections. where they come to half a years before elections. And there are taxation laws, there are so many reforms that you can do, and this is one of the things.
What did you do to prepare the society? What were the concrete steps? Because you actually agree it's necessary to do it?
We have to admit that there are people that we can't change. There are people who hate black people, there are people who hate gays, there are people, most of the people in Estonia hate politicians.
All this action is a very strange, a very fair march. Let's say in a pink trousers, but it not carried the main politics statement. As an example, it was in Vilnius. And this communication is a little bit strange, and it's not acceptable in many other groups. Not because it's not a serious question, but it looks like a circus.
Very important is media. To raise the awareness, to raise the tolerance, and this is also something you can do. If your people are more active in media, if people see that, well, you are normal people with different sexual orientation, then I think we can change this attitude. Because, as I said, we are very limited in our actions.